Coming up on the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast, Grand Park has business booming in Westfield. Indiana-developed tech can help those with chronic pain. Downtown Fort Wayne continues its transformation. A popular talent attraction program returns to Central Indiana. Hoosiers with disabilities have a new pathway to job opportunities. Purdue looks to help its athletes capitalize on their name, image, and likeness. The Colts prepare for the season, and Meals on Wheels marks 50 years. Welcome to the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. I'm Andy Ober. Business is booming in Westfield. Grand Park Sports Campus is a big part of that, but there's more to come. Mayor Andy Cook joined Inside Indiana Business host Gary Dick to talk about Grand Park's economic impact and what's next in the project pipeline.
Well, let's talk about the Colts first and the impact that has on the community. I know you and many others very happy that fans will be allowed back at Grand Park to watch the Colts. But the impact that the Colts have being there in Westfield from an economic and really even a psychological standpoint.
Well, Gary, it's huge, and our people are so anxious, not only in Westfield, but the whole state of Indiana, to get our Colts back where we can actually see them. But it's been a tough year to be off, and everything has come together, and we're ready to open camp next week.
Well, as you look at the economic impact and your vision and others, the vision there in Westfield, certainly Grand Park is very key, very central to that. And that continues to drive, even during the pandemic, was driving a lot of economic activity there in Westfield and the area.
Well, it has. And, you know, the reason for Grand Park was to fulfill part of our financial long-term plan to create a tax base of tourism right here in Central Indiana, and it has certainly done that. It has brought not only over 2 million visits to Grand Park every year, but all of the hotels, restaurants, entertainment that is making Westfield known across the country now as the mecca of family sports.
Well, as you look at that, Mayor, because I think Westfield has developed a brand, if you will, for family sports. But beyond that, and what we're beginning to see, I think, is a diversification of the economy. I mentioned Abbott Laboratories, major investment and 400 plus jobs planned for Westfield. West Fork Whiskey, a distillery going there. There's been a number of developments that are kind of broadening that economic base and the jobs base in Westfield.
Well, Gary, it really has, and that has been really our long-term plan. Number one was to create the industry of hospitality. Number two was to build the industry of sports. We've done that with the Pro-X and the Pacers baseball that are all privately owned. We have the new high school YMCA natatorium that just opened. We have the new gymnastics there, Wright's Gymnastics, just broke ground last week. So that is the private investment in sports. But as you mentioned, also to further diversify and to capitalize on our ability to recruit families and therefore employees. We really look at advanced manufacturing, advanced distribution, and those kind of businesses are beginning to come about. You mentioned we have Aptiv that's opening up a lab there. We have Abbott, as you mentioned. We have several other companies interested in North Point. Our developer there just announced Holiday Properties, $30 million, 3 spec buildings right there in North Point. So that tells me people and businesses want to be there.
And your location along 31 and a lot of improvements along US 31 there, you really think you can attract a diverse workforce, so not only the higher end, higher paying jobs, but some solid blue collar jobs as well because of where you're located?
Well, yes, we can. We're on the north edge of the Metroplex. We have the gift, I'll say, from the state of Indiana and NDOT of the 31 freeway that continues to march north all the way to and around Kokomo. That allows us to draw on a ever-growing circle of lower-paying jobs, not terribly low-paying jobs, but to diversify our entire employer base. Yes.
Yeah, very quickly, Mayor, we only have about 20 seconds left, but residential is booming too. So that kind of gets back to, I think, that ultimate goal you talk about as making Westfield a destination.
Well, it does. And just like we're totally redeveloping our downtown with the Grand Junction, all of that tells me is indicated by our building permits, where we've issued, I believe, 1,200 building permits so far this year. And last year we were a little over 1,000. That tells me people do want to live in Westfield, Gary.
So no growth, no slowdown in growth, certainly in Westfield. Big week ahead with the Colts arriving there. Mayor Andy Cook, as always, thanks for joining us. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Hey, good to see you. Thank you.
Patients with chronic health conditions that require daily monitoring have some Hoosier-grown help in the form of a newly approved medical monitoring device. We get details on Zionsville-based Vocare's invention from CEO Ben Park.
I think this is a story that is certainly a medical device, a technology story, but also a story of innovation. Vocare, Zionsville-based company that really is about ideas and creating things in a barn, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Literally.
Yeah, Steve Peabody's barn is where this idea was born and grew up, and now we're moving out into a regular office space.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the device that we see, Vitals 360, cell phone sized device that is really catching fire. Talk about the development. First of all, it's been 10 years in the making, right?
It has. I mean, we started with a tablet originally. Mm-hmm. There was no reimbursement for that. And so we ended up sidelining that. Mm-hmm. And then we developed this device, which is actually a cell phone, mm-hmm. not only cell phone size, but a cell phone that has all the parameters that you mentioned, as well as providing telehealth services.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people are excited. You're excited about it, coming over as former key executive at Anthem, United Healthcare. You're very excited about what this is. Give us a description, because this really monitors 6 vital indicators, right?
It does. It does. It does blood pressure, respiratory rate, EKG, pulse, oximetry, and glucose, although the glucose is not yet approved by the FDA.
Yeah. Talk about, Ben, because you're very familiar, obviously, with telehealth and the explosion of telehealth, where things were maybe a few years ago with telehealth, and now, in part because of the pandemic, perhaps, but just this explosion of telehealth and how that fits right in, I think, with this Vitals 360 device.
It does. You know, at American Health, we were doing about 500 telehealth visits a month. And along came the pandemic, and we went from 500 a month to 1,500 a day.
Wow.
It was staggering. And one of the issues that we had is that people had a difficult time using available telehealth products because they didn't have smartphones necessarily, and we didn't have a reliable set of vital signs of blood pressure, pulse, and those kinds of things.
All right, you're going to market right now, literally this week, going to market, moving from that barn into office space. You've already got demand and customers out there. Talk about who, generally speaking, the customers are and what that demand is, at least early on here.
Yeah, initially I think it's going to be adopted by the remote patient monitoring companies and telehealth companies that are already in this space but don't have a purpose-built device. We fill that niche for them.
Can you give us an idea of what we think the potential is here? Because I know there are a lot of people excited about it and think this has some big upside.
I think it does too. I mean, you know, I think it's $1 billion company waiting to happen.
Yeah, very exciting. Vitals 360 is the device. Vocare, a Zionsville-based company. Dr. Ben Park, thanks for coming on, and we will be tracking this story in the weeks and months ahead and look forward to having you on again.
That's great. Thank you.
All right.
Hundreds of millions of dollars in downtown development continues in Fort Wayne. The result will be a massive transformation. Reporter Mary Rachel Redman has the story from the Summit City.
Downtown Fort Wayne in the late 30s. Indiana's second largest city, booming with businesses and manufacturing jobs. But a once robust economy began to decline by the early 90s and 2000s.
Fort Wayne was a city that made things. And for decades, we enjoyed that. We had extremely high wages. We had extremely high home ownership. We had a number of factories. They employ tens of thousands of people. It's the exodus of manufacturing jobs. We were hit very hard. We lost 20,000 jobs in 1 year.
But over the last decade, over $1 billion of public and private investments in downtown has ignited a transformation in a city that only continues to build momentum.
We felt that downtowns were the heart of any city, that if you made an attractive downtown that consisted of art offerings and recreational opportunities and a significant amount of hospitality offerings, that it could attract people not only to come downtown and play, but to also live and work. And we've seen significant increases in all three. We've more than quadrupled the amount of people that live downtown now. And as a result, more and more investors are approaching us saying, will you partner with us to do this particular project?
And Mayor Henry tells me the key, tapping into a once unwanted natural resource that's really opened up the floodgates to more investment.
We have three rivers that converge in the middle of our city. Our rivers have been a challenge for a number of years. That flooded homes, that flooded businesses, and we fought that for decades and spent hundreds of millions of dollars trying to push the rivers away. Well, it never really worked. So finally we decided to change that philosophy and attempted to embrace our rivers.
And they've done just that. The first phase of the Riverfront Promenade Park opened in 2019, and phase 2 of the Riverfront is currently in the works.
We still have a ways to go. This is only phase 1 of 3 phases. This particular phase, we invested about $30 million. We still have, again, about 2 phases to go. To the east is a new mixed-use development. It's about a $90 million investment by Barrett and Stokely. So we're getting a lot of excitement about this particular area of the river. We've invested about $1 billion in our downtown over the past 10 years, and we anticipate another $1 billion over the next 4 or 5 years.
Have you seen it pay off?
Oh, there's no question about it.
Mary Rachel Redmond, Inside Indiana Business.
Central Indiana is seeing the return of a collaborative talent attraction program known as Indifluence. Nearly half of the interns who took part in the last event chose to stay in Indianapolis to start their careers. Roche Diagnostics Head of People and Culture, Bridget Boyle, joined us with more.
First of all, this is the 3rd year. You're just wrapping up Indifluence, but give us kind of a thumbnail description of the Indifluence program and what it's all about.
So it is our 3rd year with Indifluence, and what it is many of the top companies within Indianapolis came together and said, what is a way that we can, instead of competing against each other for talent, how can we work together, come together, and create a compelling program that will draw recent graduates to want to stay within our state and start their careers? And the best way that we can do that is to introduce them to our city and everything that it has to offer, help them establish a network early on, get them introduced to business leaders and civic leaders, and then also introduce them to all the creative ways that they can start to give back early in their career.
Yeah, talk about that, because this truly is a unique program in the country and multifaceted program indeed, giving back to Indy. So these interns are going out and doing community service projects. They're also connecting, networking with leadership as well. So a number of things make up the Indifluence equation.
Right. They are not only giving back to the city by helping clean up parks and donating their time and energy to efforts that are important to the city, but they're also getting to learn about nonprofits and charitable giving opportunities. They also get to vote, where we are able to make a $14,000 contribution at the end of the Indifluence event. They get to vote on their top nonprofit. And in this case, what was chosen was a refugee, helping establish refugees in Indianapolis. That was chosen as the winner that was announced yesterday. And then last but not least, we help these individuals get early financial education, because financial stability is important at an early stage in their career. So we do a lot of training there. And we do education and awareness on diversity and inclusion. They get to meet a lot of business leaders.
Yeah, and what I think is really interesting this year, you had a record number of interns participate, 600, a big number, and also interesting, and that's that return on investment. And I mentioned it in the introduction, but a number of interns who participated last year indeed decided to start their careers here in Indy, even though they hadn't lived here before.
That's right. I mean, when we really started to look at the numbers of the interns who had accepted full-time offers, 40%. And like you said in the beginning, many of them had never even stepped foot in our state. And so, it was a very compelling program. And in a year where many companies and states were just completely eliminating internship programs, not only did we honor our commitment to these students, but we also said, how do we take it up a level and how do we raise the number of people that we can reach? 40% of those 500 accepted full-time offers. And so we know that we're going to continue to grow this number year over year. And we already have companies who've never participated, and they're reaching out to us saying, how do I get involved in this?
Yeah, I only have 30 seconds left, Bridget. Ascend Indiana is kind of that talent attraction engine, getting these interns. But based on the participation, the increasing numbers, 600 this year, it looks as though this program is not only here to stay, but has a growth trajectory.
Absolutely, yes. Growth trajectory. I'd love to see us double the number of interns and continue to use Ascend Indiana as a recruiting engine for us.
IndyFluence is the unique program, a talent attraction program that is having big success. Bridget Boyle from Roche Diagnostics, thanks very much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you so much.
Remember, you can catch Inside Indiana Business Television on stations throughout the state every weekend. Head to InsideIndianaBusiness.com to check listings. Evansville-based Old National Bank has developed an innovative program to create job opportunities for people with disabilities. Achievability has been a game changer for those facing barriers getting into the workforce. Diversity and inclusion outreach specialist Ben Trockman spoke in the Business of Health.
Ben, this is, I think, and we've done some things on this program before, truly a unique program developed at Old National. We'll talk about essentially kind of the, for lack of a better term, the business model, the model, and what this is all about, how it works.
Essentially, what we do is we find aspiring young professionals through recruiting at universities throughout Old National's 5-state footprint. And we ask those universities disability services offices, which most universities have a disability services office, to just make recommendations of bright young people that they interact with on a day-to-day basis. And I have an exploratory interview with young people. I conduct many handfuls of exploratory interviews each year and get to know a lot of great young people. And when we identify someone that we believe could benefit from a mentorship, that could benefit from networking, we connect them with a leader at Old National Bank for this 10-month-long experience. A little bit more in depth, the program itself is from August until May. We have a couple of different in-person and virtual options to build the class. For instance, this year we'll have about 20 participants from within our 5-state footprint, people of all different abilities. As you mentioned earlier, it's just a really great experience to build confidence of young people and build their professional network to be ready for the future.
And you, what I think is fascinating about this, you were brought into Old National Bank 6 or 7 years ago to really start this and grow this program. So you have really built this program over the past 6 years. Talk about the impact that you have seen and the number of individuals you brought into the fold in terms of hiring, and also some for summer internships.
It's been amazing to see how this program has grown. We started with one person and connected with one mentor and one mentee. And now we have had, in this past 6 years, 114 participants in our program. We have directly hired 10 individuals out of Achievability. We have offered 12 summer internships to former participants of Achievability. When you think about the vast number of jobs that are open in this world. And as you mentioned at the top of this segment, that there are an incredible amount of people out there with disabilities looking for work. Connecting them with leaders at the bank, connecting them with confidence, and connecting them with partners, give them an opportunity to gain a summer internship, whether it's with Old National Bank or another community partner. It's all about building and empowering that individual, that young person with a disability, to be better prepared for the future.
And as you and I were talking off camera before the interview, this model, which is unique, is really catching on, getting a lot of attention, brownability among companies that really want to try to replicate this and connect with this kind of idea to bring more people into their organization.
Yeah, we are so excited about the partnership with Brownability. They've been an incredible friend. We've had other companies. I won't mention them now because I don't want to put them on the spot, because then they might actually have to do it. But that have, said that they would like to partner with us and share. I've shared my template with Brownability. They've had 3 mentees, 6 participants in the past couple of months. And that's our goal, is to create more inclusive companies, environments, communities. So if there's ever anybody that would want to adopt a similar platform, I'm happy to share my playbook. It's a simple one, but it's a good one.
Well, a lot of people talk about hiring people with disabilities, but not many companies really follow through with the hard work to get it done. Old National, the exception with this unique program. I know senior management has a lot of support for this. Ben Trockman, the Diversity and Inclusion Outreach Specialist there at Old National. Really appreciate you taking the time to be with us, and look forward to following up on the story in the months ahead.
Thanks so much. I'll be around.
College athletes can now benefit off of their names, images, and likenesses, and Purdue Athletics is looking to help its players do just that. Empower is a partnership with the Cranert School of Management. Purdue Associate Athletics Director for Compliance Tom Mitchell came on the show to explain how it works.
Yeah, well, first of all, give us an idea, because I can only imagine at Purdue and every other university around the country, kind of been, I would imagine, a bit crazy trying to deal with this, although I know you've been working on this for some months now, but this name, image, likeness is now official. What's it like trying to really get your arms around what it's really going to mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that's been, stayed with me the entire time, and we've been working on this for well over a year. Peyton Stovall, our assistant AD for student athlete development, and I, and then the team we put together within the department, is something my dad used to always say, which is hurry up and wait. And so we tried to fight that, right? We wanted to hurry up and get things going because we knew there was a lot that we could control, and there was a lot we couldn't, but let's try to focus on what we control. So with Empower, what we tried to do is really drill down to everything that we currently did. And for us, we had been doing for 10 to 7 years in terms of, the number of waivers the NCAA had received related to name, image, likeness type employment. There was about 200 of them a couple years ago that they used kind of a benchmark to determine where to shift this legislation. We had 15 of those. We've been pushing the envelope and encouraging the entrepreneurial spirit that we have here at Purdue for our student athletes for at least 7 years. In my tenure here, almost going to year 11, but things really shifted that 7-year window. So we really wanted to look at the partnerships we could build across campus with Cranert School of Management, and then look at where we had maybe some holes and some things that could really help us, or things that we couldn't do for our student athletes. Yeah, well, let's talk about influencer came in.
Yeah, talk about that, Tom, because you talk about Purdue's entrepreneurial history and heritage, and that's part of this plan, this partnership with Influencer and also the Cranert School of Management, because it's about brand building, entrepreneurship, understanding the brand, and those types of things.
It was really cool when we sat down about 13 months ago. It was last June, but June in 2020, and we didn't want to build a student athlete class. We didn't want to build something that was kind of fake. We wanted something with substance. And when Peyton and I met with Dean Hummel and Michelle Hadley and Sue Dorn with Cranert, they had the same feeling that this generation is different, that they're much more in tune with their personal brand and the brands around them. And so we wanted to build something that really worked for Cranert students, but was also open to cross-section. So we wanted it to be in the summer so that it is open to any student, not just Cranert. And so, yes, there'd be student athletes, but there'd be, regular students. So maybe there's students from the Lamb School of Communication, obviously Craner students, marketing, graphic design. So hopefully it can kind of be this great little genome where everyone can kind of work together and then maybe build some friendships and maybe build some potential entrepreneur and business partnerships down the line. So this is really like the first step for us because this class will be part of a personal branding certificate. That process takes about a year. So they've started that. So when that gets solidified, then we'll have that as well.
Yeah, I only have less than a minute here, but what are you hearing from student athletes, not only the higher profile sports like football and basketball, but non-revenue or Olympic sports? How much interest is there in this program, and what are these athletes saying they'd like to do to kind of cash in, pardon the pun?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's going to be local businesses, local little endorsements, maybe showing up and going to a pizza place and getting that benefit. They're very interested in lessons and camps. I think what's going to be interesting to see is where the market goes with things we don't know. One just signed a deal to do a podcast. So I think some of the new media is going to be exciting for them, but also some of the traditional stuff, lessons, camps, those kind of things.
Yeah, very good. Tom Mitchell with Purdue Athletics, a partnership, creating a program called Empower, partnership with Influencer. The Krannert School of Management, again, tapping into that entrepreneurial heritage at Purdue. Tom, thanks for joining us. I know this is an evolving story. We'll be following up in the weeks ahead.
Thanks so much, and thanks for having me.
The Indianapolis Colts are gearing up for the 2021 season. Training camp is returning to Grand Park in Westfield, and fans at full capacity are returning to Lucas Oil Stadium. Colts Vice President of Communications Steve Campbell joined Bill Benner on Inside Indiana Sports.
It's good to be talking football, and it's great to be talking football with fans in attendance as Colts training camp opens up in the coming week.
Absolutely. As Jim Irsay has said many times, football games and training camp and everything that we do, they're like family reunions, and it's just not the same without fans. It just really isn't. And we saw that on game day, and we saw that at training camp last year. So we are thrilled that we're going to be able to welcome Colts Nation back to Grand Park, so they can be alongside us every step of this journey.
And there will be some protocols that I know that you want people to be aware of as they make their way.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, because COVID is still lingering in our city and state and country, there are still some NFL protocols that are in place. One of the best things that we love about training camp with fans is that fans have generally been able to go up and get autographs and take pictures with players and coaches. But because of COVID protocols this year, we're not going to be able to allow autographs or photos with players and coaches. But we think that there's still a lot of action to see, a lot of activities, a lot of things for people to do up at Grand Park during training camp.
Well, and you're going to have again lots of interactive activities for fans of all ages and themed days throughout the month.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the big features of training camp is Colts City, which is I describe it as kind of a carnival, which is attached to training camp. And so we have Colts inflatables, contests, the pro shop, lots of things for fans to do while they're, during practice or after practice, before or after practice. And then we have theme days where we're going to be recognizing lots of different folks in our community. We have a day for kids. We have a back to school day. We have a mom's day. We have a day where we're going to honor our armed forces. And then we're also going to honor frontline workers, frontline essential workers that have been working so hard over the last year with the pandemic. And so a lot of different opportunities for fans to come out and choose a day that suits them the best.
And camp is free, but fans will need to have tickets. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. Camp is free every single day that practice is open, and Colts City and practice are all free. But fans need to go to colts.com/camp to download a free ticket to enter every day.
An ongoing initiative of the Colts that came up during the past year, kicking the stigma. A very impressive campaign led by your owner, Jim Irsay, really addressing everything that revolves around mental health issues.
Yeah, absolutely. Mental health has always been an issue, in the country and in the world. But it's one of those issues we don't like to talk about. Something that Jim said recently is that when you break your ankle or you have a pain in your eye or somewhere, you immediately go to a doctor. But with mental health, people are often hesitant to go seek that help or to share their story. And so what the Ursays wanted to do, it's being led by Jim and his one of his daughters, Kaylin Jackson, was to remove the stigma, from mental health and encourage people to talk about it and seek help. So we've been promoting this effort through PSAs. We had a virtual fundraiser in May, which was Mental Health Awareness Month, and it's something that the Ursay family is personal to them and that they care about very deeply. And we'll be spotlighting this issue at a game this year, and we'll be spotlighting it this day going forward.
Yeah, it's not. It will continue during the season. Speaking of the season, okay, the impressive schedule. Mm-hmm. A lot of people say it's going to be a very difficult schedule. You open September 12th, home game Seattle, September 19th, home game with the Rams. I mean, what a way to start the season. How are tickets? I mean, we all got used to sitting at home with our clickers watching NFL football last year. How are ticket sales going?
Ticket sales are actually going pretty well. What we're seeing is that there is a pent-up demand for live events, and we're hearing this, across sports, across entertainment, concerts, and things like that. There is a pent-up demand for people wanting to get back out, and we were one of the few teams that hosted fans last season, and those fans were loud and proud, even when we had 5,000 or 10,000. But again, it's just not the same. So we're very thrilled that it's going to be this way this year.
Steve, quickly as we wrap it up, you pointed out, I didn't realize this. Carson Wentz, of course, everybody is excited about Carson Wentz, but he's the fourth quarterback in 4 years for the Indianapolis Colts, and so I know people will be eager to see him, but that's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. I mean, we're a city that got used to Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck, and for so long, and of course we're grateful to both of those great quarterbacks. But the last few years have been a little bit tumultuous at the quarterback position. We had Andrew Luck, and then Jacoby Brissett, and Phillip Rivers, and now Carson Wentz. But Frank Reich is the right coach and the right person to lead that position and to lead Carson on this team.
Well, it's exciting to think about the Indianapolis Colts. Again, training camp starts this next week, and Steve Campbell, thanks for being on the program with us. Best of luck.
Always our pleasure.
All right.
And finally this week, Meals on Wheels has served as a lifeline to Hoosiers who are homebound or battling chronic illness for 5 decades. In that time, volunteers have served nearly 9 million meals. Board President Lisa Dillman joined us with more on how the nonprofit is marking its 50th anniversary.
Congratulations on this milestone, 50 years. 50 years doing anything is a big accomplishment. And it's interesting that Meals on Wheels Central Indiana is really a unique and separate organization from the National Meals on Wheels organization. You're an independent organization.
That's right. We are based in Central Indiana. Our operation has grown so much over the last several years that we serve the entire state of Indiana. Wow. But you're right. We are independent, and we're not affiliated with Meals on Wheels of America. We work in close partnership with them, and we share a lot of common ideals. But we're a Hoosier organization. Yeah. So 50 years, but these last couple of years certainly have been noteworthy, especially the impact of the pandemic. As I mentioned in the introduction, the organization really stepped up. And it was a real challenge because you lost a number of volunteers because of their age and, potential to get COVID. You lost some volunteers, but had some step up. Talk about last year, the pandemic, and how the organization actually grew. Sure. You're right. We had a lot of our volunteers are retired, and they found themselves in a high risk category and didn't feel comfortable getting out and covering their routes. And just when we thought that, that could really interrupt our delivery production, we had an outpouring from the community of folks who were sent home and who had a lot of extra time on their hands. They stepped up, and really all together we became essential workers in a sense, and we kept those meals delivered. And you're right, we increased 30 to 40,000 meals a month during that time. Wow. In total, some 430,000 meals delivered last year. And as you and I were talking off camera, looking to the future, how you sustain the organization, you talk about a big pivot that the organization made 4 or 5 years ago. Talk about that pivot to these medically specific meals and what that could mean to the future of the organization. Absolutely. We joined an organization called Food is Medicine and made a commitment as an organization that we were going to not just deliver meals, that we were going to deliver what's called medically tailored nutrition to our clients, which essentially is, let's say that I have a chronic disease, let's say it's diabetes, and I have a prescription for a certain meal that fits my nutritional needs as a diabetic. I get a diabetic-friendly meal, whereas another client may get a meal that's tailored to their chronic illness.
Yeah, so going forward, I would assume that has real growth potential for the organization and will be of interest to a lot of people here in Central Indiana and around the state.
It's not only an interest to our clients and our prospective clients, but it's really important to the partners that we're working with, the hospitals that we partner with, the insurance companies that we partner with. Good medically tailored nutrition makes their clients healthier in the long run. So it really is a win-win, and I attribute our growth to this change in philosophy that we've made here within the last few years.
Meals on Wheels of Central Indiana celebrating 50 years and innovating to be sure they'll be around another 50 years as well. Lisa Dillman, the board president there. Lisa, thanks for joining us again, and congratulations on the milestone.
Thank you very much.
That wraps up this week's Inside Indiana Business television podcast. Remember, you can find all of this week's TV segments, as well as the top business news from throughout the state, at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. While you're there, you can also subscribe to our platform of free e-newsletters. This is Andy Ober for Inside Indiana Business.